Hey, what's up guys, it's Matt with the Movement System. Tanner has some knee pain, you have some knee pain, so let's go ahead and figure out what's going on and exactly what you need to do to get back to full sprinting. So, if you're having knee pain in one specific area, right here underneath the kneecap, that is pretty characteristic of patellar tendinopathy. So, for someone like Tanner who's having some of these patellar tendinopathy or patellar tendinitis symptoms, often squatting may be a little bit painful, but what's really painful is doing something like a tuck jump. So if we're doing a tuck jump and we're landing and that quick stretch on that patellar tendon is usually very painful. And then if we go to something like a single leg tuck jump where we're trying to drive the knee up and then we're feeling that front of the kneecap, that is pretty characteristic of, again, patellar tendinopathy. That's what we're gonna be dealing with in this video. If you're having a different type of knee pain, you might need a little bit of a different solution. Here we're gonna focus on just strengthening that patellar tendon. So, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna give you two different things to do. One is gonna be early in the first 4 to 6 weeks after this knee pain comes on. So maybe you did a bunch of jumping or a bunch of sprinting and this knee pain just came on. These first 4 exercises are what you're gonna do in the first 4 to 6 weeks. And that's gonna be starting with what we call a isometric split squat. So for this one, we're gonna have Tanner actually just demo. We're gonna get into a split squat position. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually come up a little bit higher than a 90-degree angle, so right about here. So if we're looking from the side, what we wanna see here is that the kneecap is pushed over the toe. So we're gonna actually shift him forward. Go ahead and bring that back leg forward too. There you go. We don't need to be in a really deep knee bend. So Tanner's almost close to 90 degrees here. We're gonna actually have him lift his hips up a little bit. When we're just starting out, a 60-degree knee bend is a really great angle to work at for this split squat. So what we're gonna do here is 45-second holds. If you have to, you can even start at 30-second holds, but I wanna shoot for a really long duration isometric here. This should be less than 4 out of 10 pain level when you're doing the exercise. And the next day, your pain should fully return to baseline. If it's exacerbated and that pain is higher the day after you do this, that's a good indication that you did a little bit too much too soon. All right, we'll have Tanner switch sides here. Drive that kneecap again forward over the toe. And then from here, we're just gonna hold, feel that really strong quadricep contraction. We're shooting for working up to 45-second hold. Even if you're just having knee pain on one side, I typically recommend doing both sides. All right, once we've got both sides 45 seconds, we're gonna hop up and then we're gonna actually superset this exercise with a pogo hop. This pogo hop is gonna be done with band assistance. So if you have a band, this is a great way to do it. Attach it to a squat rack or something high up. If you don't have a band, just grab onto a door frame or a wall or something to assist and reduce your body weight, because we just wanna slowly get working back into plyometrics. So the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna have Tanner choke up on this band and kind of grab up pretty high, and then we're gonna have him pull down like this, and then we're just gonna go for light hops. So let's take a look at that. Get a good pull on that band to reduce your body weight by at least 20 or 30 pounds, so you're really pulling down, and then we're just gonna go for light hops on the toes. We're just gonna go for 20 repetitions or 20 seconds, whatever you prefer if you have a stopwatch. For 20 seconds, we're just focusing on really low, light plyometrics, light on the feet. We want these to be not pain-free, but still below that 4 out of 10 pain level. If we shoot for that 4 out of 10 pain level or less, then it's gonna keep us safe and progressing throughout this rehab process. All right, so once you've done 3 sets of each of those back and forth, then we're gonna come to the next exercise, and that's gonna be our step downs. This isn't a balance exercise, so feel free to hold on to something when you're doing this, but go ahead and get one foot up onto the incline, hold on, and then we're gonna tap down the opposite heel. So Tanner's gonna demo here, and we're gonna show you what we wanna see with the knee position here. So for this exercise, what we're gonna do is we're gonna push that knee forward, and the hip is gonna go straight down. We are not pushing the hip backwards. You might see some people do it like that, where we're pushing the hip backwards and trying to work the glute. No, for the knee and for building that patellar tendon strength, that knee needs to come forward over the toe. So that's the goal of this exercise. Knees forward, we're gonna feel a little bit of load through that patellar tendon. Again, it can be a little bit painful doing this exercise, and it probably will be for at least a few weeks, but we're shooting for just that 3-4 out of 10 pain level to keep ourselves going here and making progress. So don't feel like it has to be pain-free to do this, but also don't push yourself to more than about 4 out of 10 pain level. So what we're gonna do for this one is 20 repetitions, nice and slow and controlled, tapping that heel down. Again, for this one, I typically recommend doing both legs. So 20 repetitions each leg, alternating back and forth 3 times, and then we're gonna head over to the sled pull. All right, our fourth exercise of this early phase of rehab for that patellar tendon is going to be our backwards sled pull. With that sled setup, what we wanna do is get hand grip on the sled and then put a light to moderate weight on the sled. We could just start with about half of body weight or even less as we're just starting out, and then week to week we want to actually increase the weight on the sled. Some people will also do backwards incline treadmill walking, but the sled is going to give you a little bit more load through that knee. I think it's a little bit better of a choice than a backwards treadmill walk, but either one can work. We're going to do either 20 yards or 20 seconds, up to you. So if you have yard markers, you're just going to slowly sink the hips back a little bit, push off and work that knee and that quad, and we're gonna go for 20 yards backwards. All right, so that was our first 4 to 6 weeks of exercises. Once we're getting towards the later stages, you've been working those, they're a little bit too easy now, we wanna progress to more difficult exercises. So for the Spanish squat, this can be a really, really great exercise for the patellar tendon if we're doing it right. So what we're gonna have Tanner do here is slowly sit the hips back. We're not gonna go to a full squat. We're gonna stop him right there. And Tanner made a mistake. He's letting that chest drop forward. We're actually gonna have him sink that, keep the shoulders directly over the hips. So as you're squatting down, I want you to keep the shoulders over the hips. Yep, a little bit higher. And then we're shooting for that 60-degree knee bend. So this is what our Spanish squat should look like. And if we're in that right position, we're gonna feel that quad contraction. I can feel it from here, really strong. Go ahead and stand up, take a rest. This one is very challenging and you're gonna have to build up to it. But in this later stage, we're shooting for shorter duration. So when we were doing 45-second isometrics to start, now we're only gonna go for 10 seconds, but we're gonna work on really strong quadricep contractions. This is really important for making these changes stick and last long term, is that we're actually building up to stronger muscle contractions that you can only hold for about 10 seconds. So let's try one more set here. Sink the hips back, keep the chest upright. Really strong quad contraction, like you're trying to drive that knee back, and that's what's going to really put a lot of load through that patellar tendon and get a really good stimulus to actually strengthen that tendon and prevent this jumper's knee from coming back. All right, our last strength exercise for building up the patellar tendon is going to be a leg extension isometric. There's been a lot of research done on the patellar tendon. A lot of this comes from Jill Cook, a really good researcher, and this is the best exercise for getting a very high contraction strength through the quadricep and a lot of load through the patellar tendon. And it's actually the one exercise that I recommend that people do even after they're done with the full rehab process to maintain patellar tendon strength. So really important exercise. We're gonna do 10-second holds working a leg extension. So what we're gonna do, if you have a leg extension machine, this is even better because you can max out the weights and just go as heavy as possible and do an isometric for 10 seconds. But we have a band set up, it'll work just as well because Tanner's not strong enough to stretch it. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's doing great. But what we wanna do with this setup is get the knee supported with the box. So actually go ahead and slide it in a little bit. Right there. We wanna get a good line of pull here, and then we're gonna kick out into that band as hard as you can for 10 seconds. And this is actually a really good degree of knee flexion, around 60 degrees. We don't wanna be straight, we don't wanna be 90 degrees, we wanna be somewhere in between. Get that really strong quadricep contraction, you can see him shaking, a lot of load through the patellar tendon for 10 seconds, and then go ahead and rest. You can rest for a good minute in between sets to make sure that you're really getting good effort for that 10 seconds. The benefit here is that with this exercise, we're getting to 90% or higher of the maximum contraction strength of the quadriceps. We're not gonna get that with any other exercise really. So this is a really important exercise at the late stage to really build tendon properties and build a strong and robust patellar tendon. If we're not working up to these really strong contractions for short duration, then we're really not gonna be getting the full benefit of our patellar tendon strengthening. So it's really important that we have this in the program. With both the Spanish squat and the leg extension isometric, we're going for 10-second holds, 5 sets. So that's what we're gonna work up to, especially in the later stages, again, of that patellar tendon process. All right, now for a really important portion of the rehab process that is often overlooked, or worse exercises are used here. We really need to be prioritizing a progressive plyometric program as we return to full sprinting. The way that we're gonna do that, we started with those band-assisted pogos. Maybe you lost the band assist and you just did regular pogos. The next step is gonna be doing these split squat pogos. So we're gonna put that leg forward. You can alternate, you can do both sides, but we're gonna work for 20 jumps with a split squat position, scooping the arms up. So here's what that looks like for Tanner demoing here. We're gonna scoop the arms, we're gonna drive out, and you can see that knee coming forward. That's what we wanna see with these. 20 repetitions each way with the right leg forward, with the left leg forward, focusing on being explosive. So to get back to our timeline, for maybe 1 to 4 weeks, we were doing the band assisted. Maybe from week 4 to week 6, we were doing unassisted. And then for most people, this is gonna be around week 6 to 8, where we're gonna be doing something like this split squat or some of the further progressions here. So that split squat, maybe you're working for about 2 weeks with that split squat position. Then we're gonna work into single leg here. So this is often around 2 months into your rehab process. If you're just starting out, I know that can be overwhelming, but it does take time to get back to these full intensive plyometrics. So about maybe at that 8-week mark, we're gonna progress into a single leg hop. What we're gonna do is, just like our pogo hop on one leg, we're gonna start with just ankle height. So we're just gonna do really little jumps here. If we're tolerating that well, because this is all of our body weight through one leg, we might need to work here for a little bit, but over time, we wanna work up to where we're getting to actually like shin height. So we're actually getting that knee up and that foot up to about shin height each jump. Again, 20 repetitions for each set. All right, and now we'll show you the very last progression of this plyometric program. Remember, we were building up with this over time. We were making sure that our symptoms are not exacerbated 24 hours after the workout. We're keeping our pain level below 4 out of 10. If all those things are going well and we're progressing appropriately, somewhere around that 2 to 3 month mark, we might be working into full single leg forward hops. So what that's gonna look like is we're gonna be on one leg, we're gonna be doing about that shin leg or shin height on that single leg jump, and we're gonna be progressing forward. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. All right, a couple last minute tips that are really important. As you're progressing with these strength exercises, you also want to gradually be returning to running faster and faster. So after a few weeks, that might be only at 60%, then 70%, then 80%. But by the end of this program, around that 2 to 3 month mark, we want to be back to full sprinting. Remember that tendon healing timelines are often in that 2 to 3 month mark to really get full healing. So if we try to push this too soon, then we can really run into problems and extend our timeline even further. If you're an in-season athlete and you're just trying to get just enough to keep playing, then I would just stick with the isometric portions of this program. So just do those isometric split squats, isometric leg extensions, whatever you can tolerate, but really don't add these additional plyometrics or additional eccentric movements unless you're actually in that off-season and full recovery time period. If you have any questions that we can help you with, go ahead and leave a comment below. Also, let us know in the comments who you think could eat more Oreos in 60 seconds, me or Tanner. And if this video gets 10,000 likes, we'll do it and we'll post the video. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys. Tanner, thanks for the demos. We'll catch you in the next one.